everyone! Welcome back to Nails Before Films. Today's the last day for my horror movie nails. Yay! I should have finished these last four before I did my Halloween nails, but I'm an idiot who didn't know how freaking hard it was to make videos. So here I am, more than a week into November, doing something I should have finished in October. Oh well, what can you do? Anyway, the movie for today is the first Tremors movie, which came out in 1990. It's one of the few horror movies I watched with my mom, and she actually liked this one. Because of the emphasis on comedy, it's a great introduction to monster horror, or just horror in general. As always, let's go over the story first. Val and Earl are handyman in an isolated town in the Nevada desert. The two decide to leave the boring town once and for all, but on their way, they encounter a strange corpse on an electric tower. After returning to town, two construction workers are killed, causing the only road out to be blocked. With the phone lines dead too, Val and Earl leave on horses to get help. However, they are attacked by a giant worm monster which emerges from the ground. The monster chases them, and because it has no eyes, it runs into a wall and dies. Rhonda, a nearby graduate student who is conducting seismologic studies, realized there are 3 other worms underground, so they escape onto boulders. They later use poles to travel from one rock to another and finally get away in Rhonda's truck. However, after they return to town, the monsters start attacking the buildings, forcing everyone to escape onto their roofs. Meanwhile, 2 survivalist members of the town kill one of the monsters after it enters their basement armory. The rest manage to escape the roofs before the monsters destroy the buildings, but are trapped on some boulders again. Earl has an idea of tricking the monster into eating bombs, and the method kills one monster, but the last one turns their strategy against them. In the end, Val lures the last creature to the end of the cliff, causing it to fall to its death. Now for my thoughts on the movie. It's awesome! It's very funny and clever, and I just love all the different ways they think of when trying to escape or defeat the monsters. The characters are likable, I love how they work together, and most of them actually survive. That's always refreshing to see in horror movies. Unlike some other horror films, which make their character dumb for the sake of getting killed, Tremor doesn't do that. While the Perfection residents are clueless at first, they come up with plans after knowing what they're up against. They don't run around like idiots and actually analyze the situation to figure out their next step. Although not all of their plans work out and the last one even backfires, their logic is sound. This is not a movie where you'll go, why are they doing that? They should be doing XYZ. What they do is generally very reasonable in the situation, and the methods they come up with are pretty much what regular folks would think of in the moment. Their plans are simple but effective. It's always fun to see characters use their brains in horror movies. Also, there are so many times in this film that the characters put themselves in danger to help the others or to make sure their plan will work out. It's admirable and smart. Too often do horror characters split up and get killed. Like seriously, stay together for fudge's sake. The plot is simple, just a monster flick with giant worms underground, but it's still cleverly written and engaging. It builds up the monster in a smart way, using their tentacle tongues to mislead the audience and showing them moving underground by moving the ground. I love the shot of a Graboid moving under the wooden front porch and the planes go up and down like a wave. By the way, the Graboids are so cute. I would love to have a stuffed Graboid so I can cuddle it in my sleeve. Definitely not because of their subjective shape, you perverts. But they do have tentacles for taunts. The Japanese will love this for their hentais. Not that I know anything about that. Anyway, I love the Graboids and how they're somewhat intelligent. Like our protagonist, they grow smarter whenever the Perfection folks come up with a plan. When they escape to the roofs, the Graboids actually try to bring the house down by the foundations. When they escape in the track loader, the Graboid stuck a trap on their way to stop them. When they trick one of them into eating a bomb, the last one actually throws it back at them. I absolutely love this back and forth, and it keeps the story so intense and engaging. It forces the protagonist to come up with new ways to evade or kill the Graboids. And I appreciate the effort to make both the monsters and humans smart. Speaking of which, let's talk about the last Graboid killed, which is pure genius. I'm not just talking about how Val comes up with the plan to trick the last Graboid into running over the cliff and crash to its death, but how that ties into the opening scene. At the beginning of the movie, we see Val frantically rocking their truck and yelling Stampede to wake up Earl, who then falls to the ground, wrapped in his sleeping bag like a worm. You see what they did there? Val comes up with that plan because of what happened that morning. It's absolutely genius. That opening scene didn't just happen to introduce Val and Earl, even though it did one heck of a job doing so. It actually foreshadows the ending. Also, Val's plan doesn't just come out of thin air. He thinks of it because of what he did. It's so amazing and the perfect example of how tightly Tremors is written. It's just so mind-blowing how they managed to turn a simple scene of a character waking up another into something that not only tells us who Val and Earl are, but actually influences the ending of the movie. It's just such a well-written story in a horror sci-fi comedy, no less. I honestly don't understand why the movie wasn't a hit at the box office when it came out. It's just a smart, fun movie. Well, at least it did well enough in home media to get 6 more movies and a TV series. I will definitely at least watch all of the movies someday, especially when Bert, the trigger-happy conspiracy survivalist, is in all of them. Next, I want to talk about Val and Earl. I absolutely love their dynamic. They have this relationship that is somewhat father-son-like, but at the same time, they remain equal partners to each other and even bicker like an old couple. Seriously, some of their dialogues will have you rolling on the floor. Their relationship is basically father, son, brothers, friends, business partner, and old couple all mixed together, and it just works so well. Oh, and I love the way they interact with each other, especially the part where they play rock, paper, scissors to decide things. I do that with my sister all the time. Whenever we have trouble deciding something, for example, we don't know what to order for dinner, we be like, okay, you represent Chinese food, I represent pizza. Rock, paper, scissors! Seriously, that's how we decide things when we don't know what to do. Which is why I find Val and Earl super relatable and cute. I love both of them so much, and they're one of my favorite duos in movies. That's about it for my review on the first Tremors movie. I would definitely recommend this one to people who aren't that into horror films. It's not very gory and just generally a very fun movie to watch. Anyway, hope you guys like my Graboid nail. They're just so adorable. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, do what you want. Keep nailing it and get out of your pants, people.